After a 32-save shutout performance to secure the 4-0 win for the Carolina Hurricanes, it's safe to say that the swagger is back once again for Pyotr Kochetkov to help the Carolina Hurricanes earn their 20th win of the season.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the everydayer for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I'm also the co-host of the Search Cast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. Got a fun Wednesday show for you guys as we get to recap the Hurricanes' 4-0 win over the New York Islanders on Tuesday night to even the season series up at 1 game apiece with 2 more left to play. What stood out in the game outside of Pyotr Kochetkov putting a 32-save shutout performance? And we also get to hear from the netminder himself in his post-game press conference. But before we jump into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by Bilt Rewards. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbilt.com/lockedonnhl. Now, like I said, the Hurricanes coming into the game, looking for another win, looking to get, a possible 6 out of 8 points on this current homestand after defeating the Columbus Blue Jackets on Sunday. Of course, got the New York Islanders Tuesday night to finish off the 4-game homestand. You were hoping for a good 8 for 8, but you know what, though? Still taking 6 for 8. You'll gladly take that any day of the week. You also get your 20th win of the season. It's your 12th win at home. Feeling pretty good about yourself. And Pyotr Kochetkov got his first shutout of the season and his 9th for his career. And right off the rip, you get to tell that, I said special teams needs to be another factor for them again in this game, and that was the factor. 1 for 1 on the PK, 1 for 2 on the power play, and that was started off by Andrei Svechnikov getting his 12th of the season, 5:47 into the game. What a power move by the power forward to get his goal, which is his 8th power play goal of the season, which is kind of surprising, the fact that out of his 12, 8 of them are on the power play. And the fact that, too, is in the last 2 games against the New York Islanders, even back earlier this month, he has scored 3 power play goals against the New York Islanders in the last 2 meetings. Something about the power play against the Islanders makes Andrei Svechnikov go Super Saiyan, and that's talking about finding the right touch to not only score a goal against those guys in their last 2 meetings, but they're all in the power play. And it puts you in a good spot if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, and that's basically what it was. Because you're up 1-0, you're feeling pretty good about yourselves. You're ahead of the team that you should have beaten last time. You got the crowd into the game, because I even said it for the preview. The Hurricanes needed to come out firing. They needed to get the fans into the game early, and that's exactly what happened. Because you see what Andrei Svechnikov did. Powers in, goes, scores a goal. Like I said, his 12th of the season. Sebastian for his 24th point, and also Shane Gostisbehere got our 24th assist, and Shane Gostisbehere got his 20th assist. So another guy gets into the 20, assist mark, and that's not the only points for Aho and Shane Gostisbehere. But then, not even 3 minutes later, it's that third line once again. We saw the multi-point night for the Jordans in Jordan Staal and Jordan Martin, of course, with Jordan Staal getting 2 assists, Jordan Martin with a goal and an assist on his own. How about the fact that they do it once again, linking up for another goal for that line, as Jordan Martin gets his 8th of the season at 8:21, and Jordan Staal gets his 9th assist of the season. So that's already 3 points in the last 2 games for the Jordans. So talk about kind of feeling a good touch right now in the homestand, where you get your 2 of your leadership guys, especially in your third line. Of course, don't ask Rod Brind'Amour, especially if you're on ESPN, because he doesn't really number his lines, but he considers that his number 1 line, which Okay, if that's your number one line, which technically, it's the line he goes to the most. But, they're feeling it right now. And, great job for Jordan Martin getting his 8th of the year. And, of course, Jordan Stahl getting the assist. And it's good to see, the captains, finding a way to contribute as well. And you're talking 2 goals in less than 4 minutes, and you're putting yourself into a good spot. Even if you're, getting outshot by the New York Islanders, which is the crazy part is when you look at the back end of the first period going into the second, the Hurricanes didn't have a shot for 16 minutes, which is surprisingly enough for the fact that, they're leading on the scoreboard. They're doing all the right things, but they were kind of held shotless. But, hey, playing some good defense, you neutralized the Islanders' transition game, which killed you the last time on Long Island. So, yeah, you want to try to get more shots, but, it is what it is. And they even asked Rod Brind'Amour during the second period about the lack of shots, and Rod said it was the fact that they're starting to find their game once again because they're up 2-0. You thought the game was going to go a certain way. The Islanders didn't stop, and they had to get back into putting the foot back on the gas again, and you saw that. So even Rod said they're going to start finding their game again, and they did, because we definitely saw that in the second period because you get 2 more goals in this one. Tyson Jost got in on the act himself, 11-13, and makes it 3-0 after a great, almost baseball-like swing to get this to go into the net. Shane Gostisbehere gets his 2nd point of the night on the assist. Jack Roslovic for his 5th. So multi-point nights for Aho and for Gostisbehere. Of course, Aho we'll talk about here in a little bit, but you love to see that Tyson Jost gets his 2nd of the season for the Hurricanes, and it's a depth goal that it's something that the Hurricanes are so built upon, and that's something that you really love to see as well for them, and why it's such a thing of how they've been able to do what they've done all season. Even when the big guys aren't stepping up, you're still seeing depth scoring leading the way for you. And then later on in the period, with less than a minute left, a great give and go by Sebastian Aho to get his goal, his multi-point night, and also Eric Robinson. But I think the play that kind of encapsulates how good this play was is the fact that Jacob Slavin in the zone, while the puck was bouncing around, was able to get it out of the zone and spring it to Aho, who basically got it to Robinson. That's what started their 2-on-1 transition to go the other way and set up the tic-tac give-and-go play, which eventually saw Robinson put it right in Aho's wheelhouse, and he just rips it home, with a one-timer, makes it 4-0. And at that point, you're kind of like, okay, well, the Hurricanes are full throttle. They got their legs back going. Rod said that, they're getting back into the game, and you saw that, and that's what happened. And now it's 4-0, and that actually marks the 20th time this season that the Hurricanes scored 4 or more goals in a game, which leads the NHL. So you're talking in 31 games into the season, the Hurricanes have had 20 games at 4+ goals. I don't remember any time that we ever seen the Hurricanes score that many goals in a certain number, especially 31 games in, because, usually the Hurricanes do score a lot of goals, but sometimes you do see a lot of 2-goal games, 2 or 3 goals per game, or a 1-0 game. It's one of those things where you're not used to seeing them score so many over a certain span of time. So when they say the Hurricanes are struggling, it's, you're kind of like, okay, well, that's kind of a one-off, or it's a weird night for them, because you look at their total, they've gotten it 20 times this year. So they can score goals, and that's why their average going into the game was 3.6, which was top 5 in the NHL. So you put up 4, there's your number 20. And you're basically cooking with, as Tracy says, gravy and oil and all that stuff. But then you go into the third period, no goals were scored. You basically just kept them at bay, played some great defense. Pyotr Kochetkov was absolutely phenomenal, making save after big save. Kind of getting squirrely there, because he did at one point late in the game, decided to run out of his net and play a very dangerous-esque puck, which luckily it worked out for him. But it's like, love the guy, but he's getting a little bit too aggressive. But hey, you know what, though? It worked out in the end. And obviously, in the end, it was a 4-0 win. It's a shutout, his 9th of the season. The Hurricanes, like I said, get their 20th of the year, 12th at home. And you take a 6 out of a possible 8. You tie the season series at 1 apiece against the Islanders, and you're going into now having Wednesday and Thursday off before you go on the road to face the Washington Capitals on Friday, who also won themselves. So now you're talking about the number 3 and the number 1 team in the Metro Division squaring off for a good amount of points, because this is where, while the Hurricanes, while they're part of, the top 3 of Washington, New Jersey, and Carolina, who are really putting a distance on 4th place in the division. So that's a game on Friday where you take this momentum of winning back-to-back games, both against Metro teams, and now you're setting yourself up to possibly even further the gap on 4th place and maybe even try to find a way to catch the Capitals, because you're not that far behind them with games in hand. So, but awesome job by Pyotr Kochetkov. Great job of what he did for the fact that he got the shutout win, and that's something that you love to see and hang your hat up on. So, that being said, what stood out in the game? We are going to talk, outside of Kochetkov getting the shutout, what's the other things that were noticeable in this game for the Carolina Hurricanes? Well, if you stick around, I'll tell you what those things are here in a second on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. The World Series, Super Bowl, the Olympics, the world's top athletes get to play in these top-level sporting events thanks to one thing: teamwork. And teamwork can also protect your financial legacy and your family's future. Select Quote's licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammates when shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can find you the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience, helping over 2 million customers find over $700 billion in coverage since 1985. And these policies are more affordable than you think. You can get coverage for up to $1 million for as little as $20 per month. So get the right life insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Once again, that is go to selectquote.com/lockedonnhl today to get started. Once again, that's selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. If you're a renter, listen up. This is a total game changer. Thanks to Bilt, you can now earn points on rent payments just like you do with groceries or travel. Paying rent now comes with serious perks and is completely free to join. Earn valuable Bilt points on your rent and everyday spending at no extra cost. Redeem points towards flights, hotel stays, and even future rent payments. With over 500 airlines and 700,000 hotels in their program, the possibilities are endless. Access unique experiences that are exclusive to Bilt members. Start earning points on rent you're already paying by going to joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. That's joinbuilt.com/lockedonnhl. Make sure to use our links so they know we sent you. Don't wait. Start earning rewards today. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said at the end of segment 1, what stood out in the Hurricanes 4-0 win against the New York Islanders? And like I said in the preview, the Hurricanes really needed to get into this game early, get the crowd into it, because it's when you're giving 100% effort, you're putting in the work, you're getting the crowd into it. It can be a really deafening place for the opposing team, because you're not playing just the team itself, but you're also playing to the environment that is Lenovo Center. And for the fact that they're still sending that shutout streak or that sellout streak, we are almost into the mid 80s. I would not be surprised if we had 100 straight sellouts at some point this year. I think they're easily going to do it. And we're already in the mid 80s. But they were able to do that within the first half of the period. In the first, you saw that Andrei Svechnikov got his power play goal. Jordan Martinook gets his, not even, like I said, probably like less than 4 minutes later. And now you're talking about it's a 2-0 game, not even halfway through the first period, and the crowd's going nuts. Pyotr Kochetkov's making great saves, and you're putting yourself into a good spot to where it's not, while it is the most dangerous lead in hockey, you're still putting yourself into a good spot to where now you're playing your game and you're not having to play catch up like we've seen over the last few games since mid-November against Utah, where it seems like they've been playing from behind a lot. you put yourself in a good spot to where you're in the lead, you're up to nothing, the crowd's into it, because we all know that the guys feed off the crowd and the crowd feeds off the players. So being able to work in unison, working in tandem of building off each other, that's a big step for the Hurricanes, and especially what you needed in a game like this against the New York Islanders, where you saw last game where the Islanders scored 4 goals in the second period. So any type of leads you can gain in the first sets you up for a good momentum boost. And the thing, too, is I also said that they needed to stop the transition game. And that's exactly what they did. The Islanders didn't really have a whole lot of transitions and hitting the counterattack like we saw when they were on the Long Island. There was maybe 1 or 2 chances where they were able to get past the defense, but it was very few, far and in between for the most part. Dmitry Orlov got back and played some great defense on Noah Dobson. You saw Shane Gostisbehere, finding a way to make it an awkward angle for the Islanders to where they had to be in a really tight confines, and was able to set Pyotr Kochetkov to see the puck and play it well himself. So being able to control the neutral zone and control the counterattack from the Islanders, that put the Hurricanes in a lot better spot too defensively, because they're built on their structure, their defense, especially with Tim Gleason at the helm. That's what he prides on, is the Hurricanes playing some great defense, and that's what they did. You saw them play good defense. Yes, you did get outshot 32-29, but I mean, overall, that's not very bad at all. And the fact that you were able to, yes, they got 32 shots, but it was a lot of perimeter shooting. There was not a lot of in close, uptight like we saw back on Long Island, where they were basically right in the slot for almost all their shots. You didn't really see that a whole lot in this game, and I think this was a big factor for the Hurricanes, is that you were, like I said, get the crowd into it early and control the neutral zone and control the transition game. And because the fact that the Hurricanes had a better transition game overall, because you saw Jacob Slave and Brent Burns, like the defense was even burning the Islanders in this game. And even on special teams, yeah, you went 1 for 1 on the PK. You only had to worry about 1 penalty, and then you get 1 for 2 on the power play yourself. Even the first one was like less than 40 seconds, and it was 1 shot, 1 goal. So you were able to find a way to control the game in your aspect, and basically you almost turned this game on the Islanders. Like, you gave them a taste of their own medicine that you saw in Long Island. Now you put it to their Canes' ability, where this team is built on speed. Robinson, Jarvis, Nietzsche, like those guys all have speed, even Aho. So they were able to find a way to use a counterattack and use the transition game to your factor. And that's what you saw in this game. And that's why the Hurricanes are up 4-0 after 2 periods, to where it's, Tyson Jost gets, once again, depth scoring is a big factor. Sebastian Aho, great, passing between him and Robinson, which leads to a goal. And there's your 4-0 lead. And now, you hold them to nothing, because last time we saw the Islanders score 4 goals in the second period, you saw them have none. Now you're going into the last period. You're up 4-0. It's your 20th game of scoring 4 or more goals, 31 games into the season, which for me, like I said, it's still crazy to think that that's a stat that the Hurricanes have, to where they've scored that many goals in like a third of the season. So it's just, it makes you really see how this game plays out. And obviously, like I said, the big, massive standout was Pyotr Kochetkov. 32 save shutout performance, his 9th of the season, his first of the year. He comes into the game with a .895 save percentage. Of course, it's a weird misnomer, because you're looking at a goalie who's only given up maybe 2 or 3 goals a game, but you're only seeing like 22, 20 shots. So, yeah, he saw 32, and he stopped all 32. So that definitely is going to boost his save percentage, and that gives him his 13th win of the season as well. So you're talking about Pyotr Kochetkov has won 13 out of the 20 games for the Hurricanes this season. That's how locked in he's like. Yes, maybe he's not fully locked in, but this is probably the first game all season where you saw him dialed straight from puck drop, and it's probably his best performance all season. The fact that he's already got 13 wins, I think that's something that really needs to be given more like praise for the fact of how good he played in this game, and the fact that he deserves his flowers for how good he's been. And don't get me started on the national media. It sounded like it was just nothing about, all right, the Islanders aren't playing that great. How can they get back into it? But it's not like, oh, the Hurricanes are playing a great defensive game. Pyotr Kochetkov is playing out of his mind. The Hurricanes are scoring at will. It's just you wish you saw more of a let's praise the Hurricanes rather than be like, what's going on with the Islanders? But you know what? All that matters is the Hurricanes won. You finished the homestand with 6 out of a possible 8 points. You've won back-to-back games against Metro teams, and now you have a big Metro showdown on Friday against the Capitals, because that's going to be a very big game where points are going to be on the line to not only distance yourself from 4th place in the division itself and the wild card, and even get you closer to possibly catching the Capitals, because you're not that far behind the Devils. You're only like 4 points behind them, and you're within striking distance of the Capitals as well. You're less than 10 points behind them. So you still have more opportunities to catch those guys. So I think tonight is definitely a boost for this team with 2 days off before they go to Washington, D.C. on Friday. Now, speaking of Pyotr Kochetkov, we will listen into his press conference that he had with media. A lot of great stuff was talked about, so we'll do that here in a second on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. If you love sports, you're going to love PrizePicks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, PrizePicks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on PrizePicks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Picksmas and offering 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, PrizePicks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. Now, for this week on PrizePicks, I'm eyeing the hockey board. I'm looking at maybe Jack Hughes for more than 4 shots on goal, maybe a more than 2-point night for Shane Gostisbehere. It's so simple to make my picks and have fun with friends while potentially catching out fast. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right. $50 instantly. Where can you do this? Well, you can do this at PrizePicks, where you can run your game. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. Like I said at the end of segment 2, we're going to jump into the press conference with Pyotr Kochetkov and get his thoughts from the game as well. For the fact that, 32 safe shot performance, you got to listen from the guy himself and get his thoughts on all that. So without further ado, let's jump into that right now with Pyotr Kochetkov meeting with the media.
It seems like the team has found its game the last couple of games. Playing behind them, I'm assuming that helps you when the team's kind of getting back to their game.
I think so. We always play good in defense zone, I think so. It's problem, it's no guys bad playing defense zone, just for me need play a little bit better, I'm happy today. We have shutouts and guys play well, defense play well, power play, penalty kill, it's team win.
You've mentioned before how you like going against other Russian netminders. Do you feel like playing against Sorokin help you kind of elevate your game going against a guy like that?
Oh, I don't think about this, it's all Russian goal is very good, I just can try it, answer. He have safe, I can answer it safe too, just for me no big deal. Russian guy and USA guy, Czech guy, I just, for me no big deal.
You had to move with the player coming across the crease or the slot a couple times, side to side, like twice on Horvat. Mm-hmm. Is that hard to do? That happened 3 or 4 times where you had to track the puck with them and move with them.
Hard to say. Sometimes you have save after this, sometimes you have goal. I don't know what to say about this. Just, you always try tracking puck and see where different guys, just today I have save, so it's good for me. Sometimes I have games when I do same, I have goal,
Big thank you to Pyotr Kochetkov on the Carolina Hurricanes. There was a lot more that was said in the audio, but just for the fact of what we're asked of here at Locked On Hurricanes and Locked On in general, can't really share a whole lot of what else was said. But there was some colorful language. Of course, you saw from Walt Ruff, they tweeted it out, giving his thoughts on thinking about the shutout. It's safe to say that he's learned some he's learned the fun words, essentially, in English. But honestly, though, you heard it from himself. It's one of those things where the team played great in front of him. And that's all you can ask for as a goaltender, is to have your team play well in front of you, 5-on-5, power play, penalty kill, going out there and doing your job. And even for him, just being able to track the puck, making great saves and stuff like that. And that's just something that was really beneficial. And that's what saw him play a really great game tonight. So you have to give it up to Pyotr Kochetkov and just the way that he played, to where you see him, being dialed in. And no matter who's on the other side of the ice either. It could be, Jake Ottinger or, other guys around the league, Connor Hellebuck, or even if it's against the Russian netminders of, with, Vasilevsky or Sorokin or, insert Russian goalie here. For him, it's like all Russian goalies are good. It doesn't really matter who's on the other side of the net. It's more of like focusing on himself and what he can do for the team. And I think that's kind of the mentality you really need as a goaltender, is the fact that it doesn't really matter who's on the other side. You just have to do your job and shut the other team down. Let the team in front of you take care of business on the other side of the ice. And I think for the fact of him being 25 years old and just the way he thinks and the way he holds himself to a higher standard, it really shows the strength mentality of him being only 25 and having the mental awareness to just tune out the noise and just focus on what he needs to do. He's not going to be like, oh, it's this legend on the other side of the ice, or it's a Marc-Andre Fleury, or it's, like I said, it's a, Vasilevsky, or, like I said, insert guy's name here. It's him focusing on his game to help the team play better, and that's what he did. And I think you got to give a lot of props to just for being 25, still relatively young and still building within his confidence in the league as well. And, this is his second season of basically taking bulk of the work, doing the yeoman's work since Frederik Andersen's out once again. So being able to play all the games that he has over the last couple of seasons, I think it's given him the approach to make his game better and to focus on himself rather than focusing on the noise or everything else that's going on. So I think it's a very big thing for him. So love to see it for Pyotr Kochetkov, Pyotr the Great, whatever you want to call him. You love to see that he came out, threw up a 32 save shot performance, helped the Hurricanes get the win, 20 on the season, 12 at home, and now you're just building on to the next one on Friday against the Washington Capitals. So really awesome to see. Big congratulations to him on the shutout. But guys, that will wrap up a Wednesday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. If you want to keep up with me, you can check me out on OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is _Hurricanes. You can also find me on Blue Sky at the Zachary Martin. I have links in my bio where you can check out all my writing at the Hockey Writers, or just go to thehockeywriters.com, search Zach Martin, and you can find all my stuff over there. If you want to check out my other podcasts, just go to podcast platforms or on YouTube and just look up the Surgecast. Now for this show, which, by the way, thank you for making this your first listen of the day. For your second listen, well, go check out Fantasy Hockey of Locked On and become a hockey fantasy expert and get the edge over your league mates with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Now, if you heard, this is the first episode of a 2-episode day on Wednesday, as this was a 7 a.m. drop. But my Wolves Wednesday episode with Cam Abbott will drop at noon. So if you've not heard that episode yet, it will be out at noon Eastern. If you have listened to it, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this episode as well. Now, for this show, it's going to be on Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever you listen. Just go to Locked On Hurricanes, leave a 5-star rating and review, subscribe. If you leave a rating, I might read it on the show. Now, for YouTube, Locked On Hurricanes, subscribe. Hit the bell notifications so you don't miss the show. Give me the thumbs up button. Let me know if you liked the show as well. And in the comments section, what was your favorite moment in the Hurricanes 4-0 win against the New York Islanders? But everyone, I hope you enjoyed this Wednesday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. I hope you also enjoy the Wolves Wednesday edition with Chicago Wolves head coach Cam Abbott. Hope everyone enjoys their Wednesday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.